When I probably tell you that time management has nothing to do with managing time, you're probably thinking, what the hell? But it really doesn't. It's about managing your focus, your priorities, and of course, your energy. And we're going to dive deep into that so you better understand what we mean by that. But before we do that, we have one of my favorites, being formerly born and raised in Wisconsin. We have the classic, the Manhattan. And, basically, now this Angie's going to shoot me because she does this always very well. She is great. She's a mixologist. But nonetheless, it's 2 ounces of whiskey or rye whiskey, that is, or a good bourbon, as I'm drinking, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, 2 dashes of bitters, any type of bitters will work. And then if you're from Wisconsin, you gotta add the brandied cherry and then dump a little bit of the cherry juice in. And that makes for a very bold, not too sweet, delicious drink. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
So again, as I mentioned, we're going to talk first when we talk about time management. So one of the things I always like to bring up is that we all have 24 hours. Those that are overwhelmed and those that are very effective at managing time realize it's all about clarity. So when I talked about those priorities, really what I'm talking about is get clarity around the activities that you're involved with. And there's a gentleman, an expert in the industry, referred to as Stephen Covey, wrote this very popular book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things that Stephen Covey talks about is this time management matrix. So bear with me for a second. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it because there is a little bit of content. And whenever we have a little bit of content, I like to share it so we can all see it. And so let me take a look here. Okay, so Natesh, can you see this?
I can see it.
All right. So, a couple of things. So, he's talking about when you take a look at everything that's demanding time from you, there's basically 4 quadrants to kind of place what it is you're being asked to do or what it is you want to do or need to do. And there's 4 quadrants. The first one, of course, is what he refers to the task or activities that are urgent important. And to be honest, these are things like there's a crisis, some kind of emergency, and you need to handle it personally. You really don't have much of a choice. So, you know what? That's usually at the top of the list. Now, you do want to, as best you can, mitigate these types of occurrences, but there's only so much a person can do. Life happens while you plan. But the second bucket, and this is referred to as the gold zone, this is where you want to live, is the activities that are not urgent, but they're important. So this has to do with planning, relationships, and that, covers family, professional, etc., exercise, those are all things that will make you better and will help you better plan for the future. And so this is where you want to spend the bulk of your time. Then there's this third category called urgent but not important. These are the interruptions, the unnecessary meetings, et cetera, et cetera. This is where you want to take some time to figure out, is some of this stuff that's coming to me in this bucket, can I delegate? Or you know what? Do I really have to show up to this meeting? Because to be quite frankly, I'm not a contributor and I'm not getting anything that's of value. And so you want to try to streamline. And then there's that fourth bucket called not urgent and not important. You just want to eliminate this. And a true story, I am not on Facebook. And the reason for that is I've really struggled when I had all of these social media all of this access to various social media channels, I became obsessed with scrolling through this stuff. And no matter how much I told myself this is just a big waste of time, it is not contributing to my life for the good at all. And so what I did is I just eliminated. It's not worth the wasted time. But that's a little bit of the overview. Nitesh, how do you think about this?
I think this is a great matrix, by the way. And I've got to say, for years, I thought I was being productive, Bruce. Um, but really, I was spending a lot of my time. I mean, we're going back a decade. I was spending a lot of my time in the important, urgent, and important. Um, and I think I falsely identified, wrongly identified, inaccurately identified things that were important, and they weren't. They weren't important. Same with urgent. Um, they weren't. They weren't urgent. But you know what it's like, right? You get into this operational mindset, and you think, oh wow, I can do tasks. I can get stuff done. I can get through a couple of hundred emails a day, and so you get into that mindset. But it really, it wasn't good for me at all. I was getting through it, but now I find myself, I am more or less always in the not urgent, the gold zone, as you put it. I'm almost always in the not urgent, but important. And I've got to say, I don't want to use the word happy because I think that's not a good enough word. Um, I'm just calmer, more relaxed, getting more done, producing good quality work, and it really does make a difference. I don't think I was looking at this matrix when I made the change, but I just knew that I had to make the change. I don't know if you had the same experience in your life at all.
Yeah, and well said, by the way. And again, when I mentioned at the very top of this show, is that, it's not about managing your time, it's about focus, priorities, and energy. This is the part about the focus and priorities. And one of his famous quotes, Stephen Covey, was the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, the key is to schedule your priorities. There's a big
Mm,
misnomer out there, and a lot of things, and Natej, you can vouch for that as coaches. We talk a lot about how, quite frankly, you control 80% of your life. 20% things happen while you plan, but 80%'s in your control. And this is a big first start, is take a look at your time. Where are you spending it? Make damn sure you're in that goal zone. Because if you do that, your family benefits, your coworkers benefit, and
yeah.
you live a much healthier lifestyle.
One thing that's
Anything
just
else?
occurred to me. Yeah, one thing that's just occurred to me before we go to break, Bruce, is that the words proactive and reactive. Um, I'm no longer reactive. I've made that shift from
Good
because
for you.
from one to through one and three to quadrant, the gold zone, and but I've got to say the process to that. I know we're going to talk about it a little later. The process to that wasn't easy. It took some years of understanding, self reflection, and becoming intentionally proactive and intentionally less reactive.
Yeah, and I gotta say, this is still a challenge for me. So this is something that I have to stay conscious of. And, on a weekly basis, I plan for the following week. And then on a daily, when I do my check and adjust, to be honest, these four quadrants are circling in my mind. So this
Yeah,
is never a one and done. It's how can
no,
you leverage this as a
it's
tool
a journey,
to,
right? It's a journey.
yep, to
Yeah,
improve. So with
yeah.
that, Jesse, take us to break. I hope you're all here. And by the way, everybody, thank you so much for joining. We've been pleasantly surprised by the number of people that are starting to follow us and view. And again, we cannot thank you enough. Natesh, any comments on that? The doc?
Yeah, I think you said it. Listen, I'm really pleasantly surprised that we have people and the same people following us, and it's growing every week. So really, really grateful. And anything, any feedback, any comments you've got that any topics you want to hear about, any, the way we work this, the way we do this, the way we configure this. Please, we're open to feedback always.
And again, always a shout out to Jessie, who takes great care of our production and engineering. As always, she's teaching us yet. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. All
Cheers.
right. So, as promised, now we opened up in that first segment saying, again, managing time isn't about managing time, it's about your priorities, your focus, and your energy. So, now we're about to do a little bit deeper dive. And I don't care if you're running a business or running a household, or in some cases, many people do both. So this is really a challenge. We're going to share with you 7 keys to mastering time management. 7 keys to mastering time management. And you know what, Natesh, you always put me on the seat, and Angie isn't here today. So what's one of your favorites of these powerful keys to mastering time manage? What's one of your favorites?
Ah, okay. It's going to be hard for me to pick one favorite. Okay, I'm going to pick two. Here's what I'll do. I'll pick two. One where I've always been pretty good at it, and two where I had to learn to become good at it. Okay, so I'll pick the where I had to learn. Protect your energy. Protect your it makes a huge difference. Um, I was working long hours. I was doing literally not 7 days a week, but the weekends I was still doing stuff. I was still responding to stuff, still planning stuff, still doing stuff. Um, and I don't do that anymore. It leads to it leads to stress. It leads to bad health. It leads to um, relationship damage. So protecting your energy for me is number one, because as I said in the previous segment, made that change. It took some years to do it, but made that change. And I can feel the benefits on a daily basis. Don't have that same stress. Um, Look, I don't have to. I'm not in a operational job that I was in years ago. But anyway, that's the one I learned. The one I was, I think, always pretty good at is focusing ruthlessly. Always pretty good at doing that. If there's a car horn going on in the back, car alarm going on in the background, or a house burglar alarm going in the background, I'm not hearing it. I don't hear it. If there's a baby crying on a plane, I'm not hearing it. I just don't hear it. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. Um, and I, that's not quite true. The mobile phone was a distraction, but I learned to control that too. But generally speaking, when I had to focus, when I had to do focus on work, I've always been pretty good at that. With the tiny exception, the mobile phone, I had to learn to switch that off. How about you? Yeah. I tell you what, you put me on the spot. You give me your one you were good at and one you had to learn.
Oh, God. Well, so first of all, your focus ruthlessly. I got the fact that Angie isn't here is good because she would pile on this. But I've never been good at multitasking. Never.
You
I
do one
mean,
thing.
and to be honest, based on my experiences and of all the women and men that I have worked with, lived with, whatever, women seem to be pretty damn good at multitasking. So I'm glad Angie's not, I don't want her head to inflate. However, it was great when there was a study released that that's a myth,
It
that
is a
in
myth. Totally myth.
reality, Nobody is good at multi. Well, I was like, "Woo!" So now when Noelle, who's my better half, says to me, "God, you're like a one, you're a one trick pony at a time. You can only do one thing." I'm going, "That's because it's the most effective." But that's the other thing is quit the idea that you can multitask. You are sub-optimizing your time as well as probably the outcome of your performance. So stop it. All right. So you asked me a question. Oh, I think my favorite, and I'm good at this, maybe I
Yeah,
err too much, is setting boundaries. I have no problem saying no. I just don't.
yeah.
I remember once, and I'm not going to name names or the organization, but a true story was I was invited into a CIO staff meeting. And the reality, my manager, my boss, my
Mhm.
supervisor was already in the meeting. And I remember thinking, well, is that the best use of my time? There's already my boss is already there. So, and and he was outstanding. So communication was frequent and meaningful and relevant. And so I'm like, that I'm just another cheek in the seat wasting time. Well, it's kind of funny because the CIO was a great guy. And he's like, I've never had somebody refuse to come to my staff meetings. But I did over time, because typically I was very busy. The organization always gave me great assignments, challenges. I was always in great positions. And I learned very early on, say no, say
Yeah,
no. Unless you're a value add, say no. And by the way, I don't want to overstate that. Sometimes you might be in a meeting and even though you feel like you're not contributing, just the fact that you're there, people need you there just in case something comes up. They view you as the expert and somebody that can validate and say, yeah, that makes sense. So sometimes that is value to sit and
yeah.
listen and be there as a proxy when needed. But really learn, I tell people protect your time like you protect your money. I mean, you really have, and there's experts in the field that say people that are really good at time manage, yes, is a strategic investment. So when you say yes, it's an investment you're making. So if you
Mm.
believe you're doing something that truly is, from an investment standpoint, is meaningless to you, you probably don't need to do it. All right, and
So,
I
so,
do that
so Bruce,
well.
Bruce, I'm going to stop you there. I can vouch for you. You do have good boundaries, but what's the thing you've had to learn? Which of the seven
Oh
you've had to learn?
God, let's see here. Well, many of them. Um, one of the things that I would say, probably more so than anything, is the review and reflect. And
Right.
so it is now true that, and when I work with clients, I can't stress this enough. And in fact, all of my weekly sessions include an opening where people share their wins, what
Yeah.
didn't they complete that they wanted to complete, and what are they focused on in the coming weeks. And surprisingly, people, are very humble. They don't take credit for all the good they do. So those wins end up being
Mm.
really set the tone for the rest of the meeting. Because even though they'll say,
I've got to
ah,
say, Bruce, I've got to say, I, I don't think you're that weak at that. I think you're a pretty good reviewer, reflector, because you're a good learner.
well, so what I've learned to do now is so I set up just like, I expect my clients on a weekly basis. I go through the same exercise, but I also
Yeah.
journal on a daily
Mm.
basis. And I
Okay.
journal primarily for making sure I'm working on the right stuff, that I'm focused, and guess what?
Mm.
I'm protecting my energy, that I am getting the necessary rest and exercise. And so I'm journaling. Do you believe that? I never thought I would do that. And I
I did
start
not
off
know
by
you
what
did.
am I
I did not
grateful
know you
for,
did.
but then what do I got to do that day to improve as well?
So
All
we've
right.
covered
So I
four of
think
them. What have we covered? We've covered setting boundaries, focusing ruthlessly, protecting your energy, review and reflect. Okay, 3 more to go. 3 more to go.
So
I tell you
so
what,
you take one.
I'm gonna
Nataj, you
pick
take
one.
one.
No, but I'm gonna pick one, but I'm gonna talk about you. But because, I think another thing you're really good at is plan with purpose. I've seen you plan. I mean, you've just talked about it now, but I've seen you organize things methodically, even personal things. You know, an outing that we have. I've really seen you do that so well. You are brilliant at that. I'm going to pick another one now, which is basically it's called automate and delegate. Um, and that's essentially ties in with protecting your energy, but basically save your time for the high value work. Delegate the stuff that you don't need to do, or delegate it to technology or people, either way.
You
Yeah,
know, I'm going to comment on that, but we're going to
yeah.
first go to break because we're being flagged, and then we'll
We've
come
been
back and
dragged in
pick up.
short. There's one more to go. Ah, okay, we've got to go to break and then you can finish
Yeah.
the. Yeah, all
All
right.
right, Jesse, take us away. Welcome back. Um, so hopefully you're all still with us. And so right now we're going through the 7 keys to master time management. And the ones that we've covered so far: plan with purpose, and I'm going to comment more about that. That was one Natesh spoke about me, but ditto, babe. I'm coming back to you. So one was plan with purpose. Another one was set boundaries. It's okay to say no. Focus ruthlessly. Don't let anything be a distraction, not even that damn mobile phone. And forget about the myth of multitasking. The other was review and reflect, and then protect your energy. Make sure there's adequate time for rest, exercise, fun, family, etc. Now, did I cover those correct? First of all, Natej, I didn't lose count somewhere, did I?
No, but I was just talking about the automate and delegate.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you wanted to have a comment on that before we hit the last one.
So one of the other things I wanted to share before I comment about plan with purpose, but again, and this kind of comes with, like when you talk about automate and delegate, one of the things I wanted to add, there's now programs. So when you work, as a small business owner, this is typically a challenge for, like lawyers, doctors, coaches, etc., um, where a lot of what you do, you're on your own. You got all kinds of cool products now, like Calendly and stuff, where all of your calendar scheduling and stuff can really be automated. And so you always want to look for the latest and greatest, not to mention things like Chat GPT and all of the AI apps that are out there automate some of the tasks and even some of the thinking. And you want to take advantage of that. But let's get back to purpose. You know, I was kind of shocked that Natej thinks that of me. I am flattered, but there is nobody that reeks of purpose more than the doctor. Um, when I first met him, and we were going through some sessions together, um, he never spoke without purpose. If he doesn't have his purpose clearly defined around the activities or things he's pursuing from a business, his university. Oh my God. The purpose is to bring AI to everyone at an MBA level cost effectively so everybody can take advantage of that, specifically in the care in the healthcare field. I mean, he's always thinking of the greater good. What's the purpose behind this? So, Natej, while I'm flattered,
That's nice of
nobody
you. That's
lives that
nice of you.
better than you. It's a value, brother. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
It's a part of your big reason you're successful. Who doesn't want to play with you? Well, that didn't sound. Who doesn't want to work with you? And so, yeah. Oh God. But
Yeah.
anyways, and so I'm going to take the final one because we opened up with it. The
Yep.
s the final was clarify your priorities, and again, we gave you one of the best tools in the businesses, and I know we picked on each other a couple episodes when we talk about the SWOT analysis. We also did the STAR for selling yourself. Some of these tools that have been around for a few decades, but I'm telling you, I don't care what kind of speak consultants put behind it, it's the same damn thing. That 4 quadrants is magic in your life. So,
Yeah, it really
with
is. It
that,
really is. It
to
really is.
clarify, if everything's a priority, then nothing is ever gonna get done, period. So, always think in terms, what's making you better, what's gonna move you forward, those become truly your priorities. So, I'm not gonna beat that to death anymore. So, we're gonna move on. So, a question I have for you, Nitesh,
Yep.
and you've kind of answered this, but I want to do this more directly.
Mhm.
Where do you spend the bulk of your time? And give some examples.
Oh my God, what a great question. What a great question. And you've stumped me a little bit. Where do I spend the bulk of my time? I have more than one answer. I don't have one answer. I spend the bulk of my time on the following types of activities: the super urgent that need to be done, but that is not every day. I spend my time on dealing with my physical and mental well being. I spend a couple of hours a day on that. So I exercise and I review and reflect. And then I do strategic work on how I'm going to get closer to my mountain. What are the steps I'm going to take to move closer to where I want to be? So I do deep thinking work, and um, um, I block out time to do that where the phone is off. I'm not looking at emails. I'm not looking at the phone. Um, and typically this is in the morning because this is when I'm most productive. So I won't do calls and emails typically until the afternoon. I'll do this planning work, whether it's for what I'm writing, whether it's what I'm for the university, or serving up success. The stuff that you and I are involved in. I do deep planning, reflective work for those things. Oh my god!
Oh,
Oh my
oh
god!
my God,
Angie,
there's a sighting. There's the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
thank God you came, Angie, because I was just rambling on about Bruce
No,
asked me a
no,
question, and I
no,
was
let
just
me.
rambling on and on. Thank God you came. You
I,
saved me.
No,
No,
no, no,
no
no, no.
way.
Listen, so I asked Natej because we're like in our third segment here, and of course we make this shit up as we go. But I asked him, where do you spend your time? And I want the audience to know this guy just released an incredible novel. Do you have it?
Yeah.
I don't. I have it on Kindle, so I can't show it. But he just wrote an incredible novel. He's got another book coming out on AI in a couple of months. He's a professor, teacher, co-owns a university, and he's part of this podcast, Serving Up Success with a Splash. He consults and coaches many people in business and academia. I don't know how he does it. Well,
I'm gonna have to switch
we're
my camera off in a
describing,
minute because I'm
he's
getting really
describing,
my head
yeah,
is getting too big for
yeah,
the camera.
but he's describing to you how he does it. And it represents the quadrants, getting clear as to where you want to spend your time, and then those 7 keys we just covered. I mean, he's brilliant. Now, Now,
Bruce, I need a second camera. I need a second camera. My head is beginning to explode beyond this room, I'm afraid.
and he
Thank you, Bruce.
flies in and
That's so
has
kind of you.
dinner. And he
That's so
flies in and
kind of
has
you.
dinner with us from the UK. He comes into the US periodically, and we all go out and have a good time.
Yeah,
So,
just like we go to Applebee's. He's like, yeah, I'll meet you in Tampa. We'll just have dinner. It's fine.
Even
yeah.
I know what Applebee's is.
so, so Angie, I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but where do you spend your time?
Well, I obviously have a time management issue as I'm sitting here at the airport and not on the podcast. I think
Well,
what is
we
let's see. I think that most of my time I spend. So this is a question more than an answer. When I read through all the stuff we are going to talk about, right, the quadrants and all that stuff, I thought, now I know this, right? I've been coached on this. I know this. I try to do this, but there are always things that all of a sudden, what the hell do I do with this, right? Like this week has been nuts. Like if I began to tell you what I did this week, you'd fall over. So all the time I had scheduled for those quadrants, it was no longer there. The question is more like, okay, I got it. I get the quadrants. I got the 7 things. I planned it. And then life happens, because life happens. What do we do then? What do you guys suggest to help us get back on track when you suddenly lost 20 hours of your week, and everything that was in quadrant 1 is still in quadrant 1 the next week? How do you manage that? I know one thing I do, especially in business with my clients, that's where I spend most of my time. I'm just very honest. I'm like, hey guys, stuff happens, life happens. Feel free to leave. I'll do whatever I can for you, but this is where I am. And I don't like giving that answer, but it is what it is. So I'm actually looking for advice from 2 of the smartest people I've ever met in my life to tell me how you manage this when you're suddenly in an airport a day late, dollar short type of stuff. What do you guys say?
Do you want to take this first, Bruce, or shall I?
You go first.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
So
Angie,
so I've got
you
2
can't
answers.
just pop in like this and ask the
Yeah.
hard question.
Yeah. Angie, you're in a lot of
By
trouble.
the way,
I just want to say, Angie, you're going to be in a lot of trouble for popping in and just asking questions like this. So, but I have two answers for you, which may not be great, but I have 2 answers. One is stuff happens, and it doesn't matter how well you plan and how coordinated you are and how you've arranged and configured your life. Stuff happens, and we just take that in our stride. And we and authentically and honestly talk to people if you've let them down, and as you've said you do. But I think I have a second answer as well, which is stuff happens, but did it really just happen, or was there an underlying weakness in one of the 7 keys that Bruce and I have been talking about? Was there an underlying weakness in, I don't know, reviewing and reflecting? Was there an underlying weakness in setting boundaries? Did you set enough boundaries in the month, 2 months before? Was there? Did you clarify enough? Was there an underlying weakness? Because if I got to say, if stuff is happening too often, stuff is not happening. It's a weakness in one or more of the 7 key time management things.
yeah, I think that's good. So first of all, can you hear me? I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys can hear me.
Yep. You're breaking up a little bit, but not bad. We can hear you.
Okay, so I won't talk much. So first of all, I definitely have a boundary problem. That is part of, I think part of an I personality too. Like FOMO is a real thing. It's a disease for people like me that have that I personality. So I definitely have that. But 2, like some of this was like health related. Jack's dad's out of the hospital, and all of a sudden it deteriorated quickly, and we've got all this stuff on our plate that was not in the plan, right? And you really can't plan your life around things that we think might happen. And I think this happens to everybody, right? Like there's going to be stuff that, you just can't plan for it. And I think that the boundary is probably the first answer. There's times so you just got to say no. And I'm not good at that. So maybe after break, we can talk about more about how to set those boundaries to say no. But I think that was really good feedback. And I'd also like to hear what Bruce has to say.
Well, when we come back, I'm going to speak first because I have the answer for you. I do. Because by oh my God, there she is. So here's the thing. Don't panic. Now, Nawtej, sound advice. You always want to take a look at how are you doing according to the 7 keys to mastering time management? Because he's right, invariably. But here's the thing. Don't panic. What you do is you go back through the 4 quadrants. Now you have the daunting task of going, what's an absolute crisis I can't turn my back on? You reprioritize. That's all you can do. You take a deep breath, make damn sure you don't lose sleep over it, protect that energy, but just walk back through the 4 quadrants. You may have to now take 2 to 3 spins to get things off your list because things fell to shit that you really had no control over. But recycle it. Don't panic. Take a deep breath. It's going to happen. All right, Angie.
No, I think that's what is so crazy about this is we've done the 7 weeks, right? This is the first one that I was like, hey guys, all hell broke loose. I don't know if I can do that. First of all, I did have a little bit of what Nawtej said, a backup. I had you guys, all of us doing this together. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? I didn't panic. So I'm like, oh, Bruce and Nawtej have this. I'm like, if I get in time, I'll pop in and say hi. But I was like such a huge wait list. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is important, but it wasn't urgent because you guys had it covered. If it was just me, it would have been important and urgent, but it's not because you guys had me covered. So that was really, really awesome. And also, it was so timely because I did go through those quadrants again. Like I said, I knew them. I've been coached before, but I went through them because it was fresh in my mind. I'm like, damn, this is such a good time for these suckers. It's really cool, not important. And also, I think the other thing I would say is like, so I'm on my way to a girls' weekend at the beach, guys. So, and part of me was like, that's not important. And then I looked back at my last few weeks and I said, that is so important. I need to take care of myself. I need to have the time away where I'm not stressed, I'm not panicked, and I can rejuvenate and refresh. So something that like logically in my business brain was not important, I have learned by working with brilliant people like Bruce and Nawtej, that's important. So yeah, I'm gonna go sit with my friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, she just proved the point. She's living in quadrant 2, the gold zone. That was a gold zone answer. And boy, protect your energy. You nailed it. So don't beat yourself up. Shit happens. All right, I got a couple questions for both. Well, one question for both of you. Nawtej, where would you like to spend more time?
I've got to say, I am, and I thought about this. It's not off the top of my head. I am really happy with how I'm planning my time and which quadrant I'm in most of the time. It's always a journey, but I'm really. I don't know that there's anything else that I want to spend my time in. I'm really happy with what I'm spending my time in and the amount of time I'm spending on each of those activities. I really feel
good for you.
That's
and that's why he can do everything. Okay, Angie.
Oh, I have to pick a quadrant?
No. Where would you like to spend more time? Period. If we talked about where you spend your time, now where would you like to spend more? What would you like to spend more time on?
Yeah, I thought about this. I think what I want to spend more time on is there's more and more people that are reaching out to me with a need to redo their LinkedIn profiles, which is great, right? Because that means my branding works and everybody. Some guy actually left a message today. I'm a LinkedIn sorceress. That was a new one. Kind of like that one. But I thought, man, there's more and more people that need this, and I can't do it, right? I only have so many hours in a day, and I can only be there so much. So what I want to do is spend more time creating that 1 to infinity concept of online courses, things that they can do. It's me, but I'm not there, if that makes sense, so that we can help more people. But you get to a certain point in time, it can't always be you in person, but it can be me online. It could be me in a pre-recorded course. It can be, and I have a few of those, but there's so many more that I think I could do. And I would like to step back and spend more time doing that so I can create more things. Because once you build the more one to infinity, the more people you can help, the more things you can create. And that's my thought. But you guys are the coaches, so coach me.
So, Bruce, I've got two things. I've got a thing for Angie, and then I've got a question for you. So, Angie, I think I've got a great way for you to. I think you're talking about scale. I've got a great way for where you could scale. Not just online courses, because I think that's one. But you could spend rather than doing one-to-one on LinkedIn, you could have group sessions. New people that come in, you just have a 3-month rolling cycle, and you say, 10 people, I'm gonna coach you for an hour on LinkedIn once a week for an hour, and then you get to ask questions in the second half of that.
That's very good. Yeah. See, I didn't even think about. I did try that once, but now I have so much more experience in coaching from people like you and Bruce and Danny and whatnot that I think I could do a better job of that. So that's where I need to switch some of my time around in quadrants and get to where I put time in creating that. Awesome. Thanks, Nawtej.
No, my pleasure. But next time, invite me to your weekend on the beach. Bruce, I want to know where you would like to be spending more time, because I think that would be a fascinating answer.
Well, unequivocally, my family. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I got 6 kids, and they're
Yeah.
scattered through the 4 winds, and I now have 4 grandchildren, and I live on an island. The good news is that I thought about that because pretty much, and those you guys know me pretty well, my family's sacrificed. I mean, I had a failed marriage, which I was a big part of the reason, because I was such a hard charger, not only at work, but partying, all that bullshit. And I'm here to tell you, because I've been around since start, as you get closer to the end, that's not a cliche. It's your family that matters most. And so what somebody says, well, why do you got 6 kids? We also have 6 rescue pets. But they'll say, well, why did you choose the island? Well, thank God I have a great partner and the love of my life that said, you know what? You live on an island, they'll come and see you. And I thought, really? I mean, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get out here. Well, that was my first move towards it. Now, trust me, I'm still not spending anywhere enough time, but we're also starting to create traditions. Like, we have a tradition where we meet up in northern Wisconsin and Wisconsin Dells at the water park. So all of my grandkids, all of my kids, their spouses, significant others, et cetera, we get together and spend quality time playing games at the water park. The other thing we're doing is we're going to start to create a year from now, Christmas in July. And so I'm trying to figure out ways, how do I see my kids more often, and how do we all see each other together? Because that's what's most important. So that's my answer.
I love that answer so much. Out of all the shows we've done, that's the best few seconds, the best collection of words, the best minute or two of speaking. Thank you for being so incredibly authentic. Brilliant, amazing.
100%, Bruce. 100%. I couldn't agree more. That's probably my favorite 2 minutes of this show, all 8 episodes. That was awesome. And also,
Thank you.
not to speak for you, but I feel like he spoke our hearts as well. That's why we get along so well. That's why we want to build more groups and infinities, because we want more time with the people we love. And I think
guys, we have only got 2-3 minutes left now, though. Bruce, what have we got else to cover? What do you want to cover?
Well, I got to make sure I stay true to our advertisement. The challenge for the week for anybody and everybody that listens to this or has been a part of this is audit your time. Take a look at your calendar. Where did you spend your time? Did you see any improvement? Pick one task to drop, because Angie's going through that right now. Pick one task to drop, one to delegate, and one that you're going to put in that quadrant 2 where it's not urgent, but it's very important. And what will you put there in addition? What do you guys have? That's our challenge. And what I can say for those that are on, just to advertise a little bit about next week, we lost Dr. Nawtej next week because he's on business. Because, like I said, he knows how to manage his time. So he's got a bunch of irons in the fire, and he's doing it rather well. And we're going to talk about balance in your life, and we're going to use another one of those old SWAT tools, STAR tools that
Those
helps
retired
you.
tools.
Yeah, that mean the world to anybody and everybody that I've ever come in contact with. But with that, what do you guys got? Closing comments.
Very, very quickly, I just want to think of, I'd love everyone to think, and I often do this. I think in the long term, and I just think, what will my future self thank me for, and what will my future self criticize me for? So think about this from your future self. Think about yourself in 25, 30 years, and you know, don't wait until then to say your family's important. Your family could be important today.
Yeah, I
Angie?
think that's a great idea. I actually did that, Natchez, about 5 years ago. I wrote a note to my former self, like if I had been, what I wish I knew when I was 20. And I think what's cool is when you look at that note, you realize some of the values you have now. And it's something I would like to do and just forget, but do it every 5 years. Write it to your former self, because that captures your value more than you know when you're trying to give that advice to someone else. Like, hey, wait a minute, this is what I want that person to know. Am I doing that now? I'm not. I need to change something for myself. I think that's really good. I love that.
Well, with that, we're going to bring this to a close. Until next time, make time for what matters most. Cheers!